Hey guys, welcome back to What Are You Jamming? I'm your host, Chris Owen. If you're new here, the idea of the show is pretty simple. I sit down with artists I genuinely like, talk about their history, how they make the things they make, what their creative process looks like, and then to ask a pretty important question. What are you jamming? On today's episode, I'm joined by Garry Brents, the musician behind Cara Neir, Mage Sallow Moth, Homeskin, and even more. We spent most of our time talking about his process and how he moves between projects, with a few necessary detours in the future ideas like making a Doom record, pulling inspiration from Depeche Mode, his love of yerba maté, and somehow his Mount Rushmore new metal. Hearing Ice Gorger Gauntlets by Sallow Moth playing right now? Let's get into it. Here's my review with Garry Brents. Hey guys, I'm here with Garry Brents. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Garry?
Hey, yeah. First of all, thank you for having me on
no
here.
problem. Thanks for having me on.
Glad to be here. My name's Garry. My main thing is just a musician. Have a lot of different projects. Always have had quite a different things going on for many years now. I guess been making music roughly since I want to say like 2004. Really, didn't really like get super, I guess, like invested into it until like maybe 2007 or 8. With like learning like audio engineering.
Yeah.
I went to like a 1-year program for it, and then kind of that sort of took me into a different direction of like just learning how things work with music, like gear and recording and mixing and editing and pretty much the whole production process. And that's sort of been like my driving force with music.
Yeah.
Other than it being a fun kind of cathartic creative outlet.
Oh yeah.
Just been music, you could say, is like a huge part of my life.
So you're nothing if not prolific. You got tons of like Cara Neir, Mage, Homeskin, Sallow Moth, which I know you have a tape of the EP that came out early this year coming out in a couple days. We're recording this on the 19th, so the 21st, right? So when those tapes are able to coming out, we can pre-order them on the Bing.
Yes, sir.
With all those, I mean, I'm looking at your Encyclopedia Metallum, and that's incomplete. But it's you've put out since 2001. I did 2021. I've counted. You've done 26 releases or 20 releases of things. So whether it be Homeskin or Gone Mage or even Sallow Moth, and that's not even complete. That's just stuff that's still around. And you did the Cara Neir came out in 2022. So I had that Vital LP or somewhere. I picked that out yesterday. But so when you do a new project, how do you decide which musical identity you're stepping into? Like, I know they have all these different things, but like, when you're stepping into a given song or album, do you have an idea when you're writing it what it's going to go to?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
I would say for the most part, yes. Like there's kind of like a set of like motivational I guess like pillars of things that I'm thinking about for like a certain project or certain album for a certain project, kind of going into it. I think some of the times though, it's not like 100% fleshed out conceptually, or like kind of this like pre-production stage, or even like before even just writing. Sometimes it's still a little nebulous where like I'm almost coming up with things along the way as I'm writing and recording. That's just kind of how my process has always been, where there's always like a little bit of like improvisational creativity, just kind of keep the spontaneity up, keep things exciting.
Okay. So with such a breadth of styles, you like people will say chiptune or screamo or black metal, death metal. Do you ever feel boxed in by a main project, or do you intentionally resist that kind of labeling?
I would say no, I really don't feel boxed in. I mean, in the past I have at times with like just certain directions I may have taken with a project where like, okay, I think I've reached the conclusion of this, which that's fine. It's kind of a good sign to know when you feel like you've reached a creative end to something, so that you don't like force yourself to keep doing that thing. And I guess that's sort of like the beauty of being into, like you said, a breadth of style, different styles, as a listener and a creator. So I would say, yeah, for the most part, I really never feel boxed in. And if and when I do, it's sort of like, okay, I'm going to put that thing to rest and move on to something else.
So I know you do a lot of stuff, just as yourself. Like I know you have like people that help you out and stuff like that. I know Cara Neir is bandmate, but most stuff just seems like it's just you. Do you feel most creative by yourself, or do you wish you had someone to bounce off these ideas with?
I would say for the most part, I do feel pretty satisfied just kind of dancing within the halls of like my mind of like coming up with ideas and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's kind of weird to say like bouncing off ideas off myself. I think what helps with that is having certain I guess like either restrictions or time to like let things gestate, at least with certain projects of mine. So like I may sleep on something for a while and like take a break from it mentally and then come back to it. And that's sort of in a way bouncing an idea off myself from the past. We're like, yeah, I don't know if I'm feeling this thing. So let's change it up, or let's do this from a completely different perspective. But on the other hand, anytime that I have collaborated or been in bands and projects with other people, it's always been fun. Sure. Like it's because it's a different kind of creative mindset and creative approach than my typical like solo ventures. So I would say I like I like the best of both worlds there. Like if I ever had another project again with another person or another person's, like a full-fledged band, that would be cool too. Yeah. We'll see though. Yeah, it's hard to say.
So I know you've talked to many people about this. One that I ask you about. So I know you grew up deeply into nu metal, right? That was your entryway into, I guess, more heavy times of music. So like, what was your nu metal? What's your Mount Rushmore?
Oh man, okay. Definitely we're starting with Korn, because that was like my first favorite band as a kid. Regardless of any style of band, like that was just like the first group I latched onto for sure. So they definitely have to go in there. And I would say probably right after that, who was a band that I kind of like gravitated more towards after, well, really during Korn as well, but System of a Down, especially like their first album, first two albums, really, kind of late 90s up to like, I guess 2001 was when Toxicity came out. But yeah,
that was a big thing.
They would go up on there.
Toxicity was a big thing for me.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Just like they had their own thing going on too, because like I know a lot of people don't always necessarily consider them nu metal, but I think at least on that first album, it definitely was. They just had their own way of doing it, which a lot of bands did in the infancy stage of that style. Because really, like that name wasn't even a thing yet.
Yeah, like, I think it came out like 2007. But good question then. Like,
it's definitely 2000. So like, and there's a lot of years before that, with Korn and Limp Bizkit and Static X, all these bands, which goes to the rest of my Rushmore. I would probably have to put Static X up there.
Okay.
Although I'm really only like super into the first two albums, but I mean that's all kind of you need from them, in my opinion.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Dwayne.
Like super fans. Of like their whole discography, and like I've tried their whole discography, but I've really only always come back to Wisconsin Death Trip and Machine.
Sure.
Those first two, so they'd be number 3 on my Rushmore. Having trouble thinking of a fourth. There's obviously many names. I know there's one obvious one in Limp Bizkit, although for me personally, I'm not like the biggest fan. But I definitely recognize their influence, obviously being early in that the style and that
they've kind of had a renaissance too. Like people look back very fondly, and now
I've definitely seen it. Yeah, and one thing is they've kind of pretty much stayed true to themselves, like even in their older age these days.
Yeah, for better or for worse.
For better or for worse, yeah.
So, quick question. So when you talk about new metal, do you think that Deftones fits in the new metal thing?
Early on, I think they did. Yeah. I think it came, and you know what? I would, based on their earliest material, I think they would be the number 4 in my Rushmore. Up to a certain point. Yeah. Like I think White Pony still has those traits. Like it's still clear, but it's also a point of diversion or forking off to their own thing. Yeah. Like you can clearly hear like way more shoegaze elements. Oh yeah. And like kind of synth pop ish elements. Other influences start to emerge on White Pony, but I think it still has enough new metal backbone or foundation to it. Even as much as Deftones themselves would hate to admit it. But I think just enough of those like first 3 albums is enough for them to be on at least like number 4 in my Rushmore there.
So when it comes to what was a band that branched it off, because now you listen to stuff like, I mean, you have like Death Metal, Black Metal, all these, I guess what people would call like harsh music. But I love it obviously, but what was a band that really pivoted you to more extreme forms of that, like to a more, I guess, for lack of a better word, underground genres? Yeah,
like the more extreme metal. Definitely Cradle of Filth. Yeah, they were like the first gateway kind of band for me. And it was happening at a time where I was still like obviously like into like new metal in those bands and like alternative rock bands. It was like in 2001 when I got into them. So it was sort of like a convergence point where I was like, whoa, what is this? Like, what is this extra like set of heaviness, speed, crazy vocals that at first I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm into it. So it was just like, oh, this is cool. So that they were definitely a gateway band, as well as a local Dallas band who's become huge, Devourment. They just got like, they pretty much exploded within like a couple of years after they came out with their debut album. But they were another band that sort of like introduced me to way like heavier death metal and stuff. So yeah, them and Cradle of Filth.
So yeah, I've been known aware of your music since Spare Truth, honestly. So yeah. So I do want to talk a little bit about Gone Mage and how they relate to Sallow Moth, if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah,
because I know they're
absolutely,
they're both part of like I did read that they're part of the same universe or those
yes.
So I guess like when it comes to that, how the one first, do you have like a whole war set up? In the Garry Brents Sci-Fi University have a chart showing how these things are connected? Or you have it all here.
More the latter. Yeah, it's more like all up into my head. Yeah. Ideally, I think it would be very cool if I somehow can take the time to map it out like physically / visually for obviously for people, for fans to like get a look at it because they can see things more clearly. I guess to the listener it is a little more like what exactly is going on, which is kind of the intent. It's like a little mysterious, like for the fan to piece things together. So it's sort of a little bit of a, we call it kind of a puzzle or a game. Yeah. But for the most part, it's kind of just mentally in my head, and I give little nuggets of information, here and there.
Because I really loved Mossbane and Lantern, and I was just
thank you.
I was just super into it. I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, I'm trying to put together, So I guess you asked a little bit about like why moths? Why did you choose moth creatures?
Yeah, it's funny. No one's ever asked me that. To be honest, like the very first thing, it was sort of it was kind of a random choice. I was sort of just like searching for like when I was coming up with the idea for the project. I think at that time I had recorded like a demo of a song, but I didn't know what it was going to be for. I just recorded something,
right?
And I was like, you know what, maybe this should be a project. Because I was like, it doesn't really fit anything else at that time of starting it. So I was just searching words. Like I knew that I wanted it to be 2 words. So can't remember what I used to search. Well, it might have been a few things. Definitely having like a thesaurus open and like a dictionary, and then this one site. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a site that has like quote unquote weird words or unusual words, and I think sallow was one of those. And I was like, man, that's a cool word. I don't really see that utilized or like used. So I was like, you know what? Okay, maybe that'll be the first word.
Yeah.
And then I was like, could it be just that word? And then I found out there was a band called Just Sallow. I was like, okay, nope. It has to be something. It has to be another word in there. It has to be 2 words for sure.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, now I got to find something. I was like, I guess what I did then was searching that word sallow, just like seeing what things were coming up. And there's an actual sallow moth, like an actual real live creature, or a type of moth that's called a sallow moth. And I was like, man, that actually sounds cool. Like there's not a whole lot of syllables. It's pretty like straightforward. It's sort of like what is this? What does this mean? And I kind of just was like doing research on it, reading up on sallow moths, and I kind of just built a mythos around that idea. And one can see like from the very, very first sallow moth, you know, through the years, like there's been more, as I said, nuggets of information built on top of the lore and the world building of sallow moth. So yeah, it was a name that started off kind of random, and then one search result took me one way and just ran with it.
So with Gone Mage, you said they were connected in the same universe. Is there a reason why you use a different project maybe, or didn't keep in the Sallow Moth name and just switch it to Gone Mage? Is it because they're the same universe but still separate, or is it you wanted to explore different styles in that aspect of?
Definitely the latter. Like by having something noticeably held in a different style, and almost like seeing different worlds within this universe. So this one world, this Gone Mage realm, almost really like a galaxy even, it's just like every album is different. So it's almost like every album is like a different world, right. Or perhaps a video game, which is
we'll talk about that later.
With the style of that project. Yeah. So yeah, really it's just all about keeping things in their own world, in their own, you know, rotating atmosphere. But the whole big picture is they all exist in the same universe. But yeah, it's just kind of just having something totally different to create with.
Yeah, so I know you released I think probably their last for a little bit Gone Mage record, Coldest Keeping Better Heavens. That's me. I'm sorry, you did a split too with yeah. So is that gonna be like it for a little bit for Gone Mage, or do you plan on going back to it, or do you feel like you put it to bed?
I would say it's I'm leaving it on a high note. Not obviously not ending Gone Mage the project, but I'm definitely going to go on a little bit of a hiatus to kind of let it breathe a bit, or for a while. I don't know exactly how long. But kind of, I guess, like right now my creative mode is really steeped in the Sallow Moth galaxy. So right now, those 2 latest releases of Gone Mage are kind of going to be it for a little while. I don't know how long. Could be at least a year or more, maybe a couple of years.
I mean, who knows? You're putting out stuff constantly. I love it. I do.
Thanks. So keeping busy.
So I want to talk a little bit about Homeskin. I know the last release was 3 years ago. Looks like 2022. Do you think you'll visit Homeskin again?
I actually did put out a new Homeskin in January of this year.
Oh shit! I didn't see that.
I did bring it back briefly.
Okay.
I did bring it back briefly. It was a surprise comeback, for lack of a better term. It was a comeback. Yeah.
So like is that connected to anything that is just like anthology sort of? Yeah.
In a way, it's sort of connected to Gone Mage. It's weird. It's not connected to Sallow Moth, but it's connected to Gone Mage. More thematically, where it's like Homeskin is like the daytime version of Gone Mage. Gone Mage is like the nighttime version where it's dreaming and like a lot of weird things are going on in dreams. In this video game, dimension or dimensions. And then Homeskin is more like grounded, more daytime, more on Earth, kind of thing. But in terms of like lyrics and stuff like that, they're really very different, like very separate. Homeskin is kind of its own thing.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're writing, do you use, I mean, that's just in a different way earlier, but when you're writing, do you usually start from a concept or from a musical idea? I guess the best way to put it. Like, do you that's more common to say the music or the lyrics come first? I guess.
For the most part, the music does come first.
Sure.
In pretty much everything. I will say sometimes though, with Sallow Moth especially, I will have perhaps lyrics written or a collection of words written, and maybe those become lyrics, or maybe I take them apart and change them after the music is made. So yeah, for the most part, music is like the foundation, and then I build on top of that.
What kind of gear do you like? What's your favorite? Like if you had something that you says preserves atmosphere, or something you need to move on with the project, is there something that you have that you can like, you're like, I need this to continue? Whether it be a gear or it could be like I'm drinking hint right here. So if it's like something,
okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. Some tangible thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've posted about it before, like on social media, but like yerba maté. It's a drink that I drink every day.
My brother just moved back to Texas, and he's like, I finally got yerba here. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like that's it's something I've had confidently, I could say, every day. Well, okay, 99% of days for 12 years now.
Yeah.
For the first 8 years, I was drinking the Guayaki brand, which is that was like the most popular one. But really, the last like 5-6 years or whatever, I shifted over to yerba, YERBAE, and has like a accent on the E, I think. And the reason I switched to them is because they have zero sugar, and like what I was finding with the Guayaki was the sugar. I was like crashing from the sugar as well, even though like the caffeine or whatever in it was, keeping me afloat, keeping me energized. The sugar was crashing me, and I was like, man, is there like a zero sugar yerba out there? And yerba, all of their cans are zero sugar, and they're carbonated. Like it tastes like a kind of like a fruity soda.
Yeah.
Like not like sparkling water, but like legit, like a fruity soda. Like they have like blueberry, watermelon, strawberry, and it's like super carbonated, but no sugar. So anyway, that was a long answer of saying yerba mate, as I need that every day. Because it also, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it kind of keeps like my mental acuity like focused. It helps me focus on stuff when I'm writing or coming up with ideas. So yeah.
All right, cool. I know it was a big weird. I went from one thing to another, but I wanted to be sure I didn't overlook it. So
yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So when it comes to gear, guitars or anything like that, do you have anything that you go for that? Like actual like when you're making music?
Yeah. So let me see if I can.
Yeah, for sure.
See if I can pull it around. Well, I might be able to. I have kind of a weird setup here where things are a little bit cramped. Yeah, I might not be able to get it to it from here, but I have this blue Fernandez guitar made in the 80s. Kind of a really like underrated Japanese guitar company back then. And I found it on Reverb like 2016 or 2015. Might have been 2015.
Right.
And I got like just the pickups, bridge pickups replaced with bare knuckle pickups. Fantastic company out the UK. But that guitar is like the Sallow Moth guitar. Like I won't do anything in that project unless I'm recording on that guitar. So yeah, it's
very precious.
And I'll record Gone Mage with it too. But sometimes I bounce off to another guitar. Sort of depends with Gone Mage and with Homeskin as well. But Sallow Moth, I have to have that guitar.
So when it comes to like, I guess, effects, do you use stuff in software like amp modelers or anything like that? You know, you actually have like, because I have, I don't know, 13 pedals I cycle through my pedal board, but do you,
man.
Yeah. But when you come through, I know you do a lot of, recording. So imagine that you use amp modelers with your stuff, right?
Yeah. So actually, since the very beginning of Sallow Moth, I've been using a Kemper, which is like a amp profiler / modeler kind of deal, and a lot of the magic in it, at least for me in my eyes, is like third-party profiles that I've either got for free or purchased from like third-party engineers, musicians, tons of cool stuff. Basically, that Kemper if you have the real piece of gear like the amp and cab and it's mic'd up and everything, the Kemper can profile it, so it's limitless basically in what it can capture. So that's why I love it and why I've been using it. 9 years now.
Cool. So your discography is obviously highly conceptual. How much of a personal experience do you put into it?
That's a great question. I haven't really thought about that. It's I'll say, I guess it's not a whole lot of a personal thing that goes into my projects. Maybe like a little bit, sort of like just a faint thing, really, but yeah, maybe like 95% of it's definitely like out there outside of me, like just a purely conceptual thing, as if I'm like writing stories.
And that's so that gets to the other question, you being in the DFW area, living there. Do you think geographic location influences your sound at all?
That's a good question too. I've never really thought about that. I mean, like, it probably does.
You said Devourment, like they were Texas based, so just like where you are, do you think it's influenced in that way? Like
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I would say so. Like in that regard too, like with what bands are from here and stuff like that, for sure. Because it's like shaped, influencing me, but then also like externally, geographically, literally, like being in like suburbs, there's no like mountains or lakes, so like I have to maybe like create stuff like that in my projects, like create what's the word, fantastical things, because there's not a lot of that here. We're not in the mountains, we're not in the desert, or at least this part of Texas. So yeah, it's sort of like what's here is making me want to write about things that are, not here.
Do you feel a tension between exploring extreme metal and making music that could be more accessible, like new metal or electronic music? Like there's, you get a lot of tension from Image, but do you think that there's any tension between that, people that maybe turn away from the other stuff you do because they want you to make another thing? I mean, it's what you make, so obviously it's what you want to make. It's no one else's choice. But do you feel that sort of tension in that sort of aspect of things?
I would say a little bit, a little bit. Sometimes it like the kind of perception that like I may see of like others, or like maybe not. Well, yeah, I guess perception and reception, or reception of different things of mine, sometimes has like a little bit of an influence on me. Like if I'm feeling that a lot of people are vibing with this thing, then you know, I should probably nourish that a little more. Until I come to the moment where I feel boxed in, like I alluded to before. But yeah, you know, some of that influences me, like how people perceive my creations. And I guess with like extreme metal and stuff, like the accessibility or perhaps lack of it, also sometimes is kind of an allurement to me, because
for sure, 100%.
Like while I have dipped my toes, obviously with Memorage, with like more accessible songwriting, more accessible sounds, it's also cool on the flip side to go back to like stuff that's more extreme, because it's like it feels a little more abstract, to kind of scratch that itch. So yeah.
So when it comes to your most recent wishes, is there anything you're particularly proud of? Like you're like, I'm glad I did this. This is something that really nourished me or made me feel really good about it. Like like you always say your most recent stuff, but what are you super proud of? You know, recent stuff.
Man, I mean, I gotta say it's Mossbane Lantern, for Sallow Moth, just because I feel like it was, to at least to date, I think it's the most like ambitious album I've done so far, and it definitely kind of took a lot out of me mentally, seeing it through from the beginning to the end. There was even periods of time where, like I've said before, like I took some mental breaks away from it because I was like a little overwhelming myself with it, and then I'd come back to it with a fresh perspective. So like the fact that I did that, at least like a couple times even, and those breaks weren't like super long, sometimes like 2 weeks. I think one was like I took a month away from even thinking about it, the album. And then but to circle it around, to see it come to fruition and seeing it be released, and you know, seeing different people's reaction and opinions on it, but not only that, just like me personally, just me seeing it out there, and I was like, wow, this is cool. Like this was definitely like a landmark to me.
So when you're doing all these different projects, I'll keep doing that, like are you focusing on one thing, or are you jumping around different things?
Definitely jumping around, because that kind of keeps me on my toes, so that like I don't get burnt out, I guess, like on one thing. Now I'll say that's applicable to like everything except Homeskin. Homeskin's kind of a weird like corner of my mind, where everything I see, like everything has a short gestation period, where I start and finish things in a very, very short amount of time. But I did that so that project can be a completely different approach to all my other ones, where I am bouncing around. So it was kind of like a challenge, just to like see if I could do something differently.
So since you're jumping around, like, are there any things that you want to try that you haven't maybe tried, like musically?
No, I'm glad you asked that, because I'm actually thinking about, or have been thinking about that, just in my head. Like I'm just like, man, I want to do this, and this. So I want to do like an 80s influence, I guess. 80s influence, like synth pop album, like Depeche Mode style. I love Depeche Mode. So like that would present its own challenges in a fun way, to me creatively, you know, tapping into completely different guitar tones, synth tones, drum tones, vocal tones, everything, the whole package. And I don't know what that would look like conceptually, or if there even would be a concept. It could just be based on vibes, like every song's its own thing or whatever. But yeah, I would love to do that. And I would love to do like kind of a traditional like doom metal album. I don't know when, but
yeah.
that would be fun. Like not even mixing it with like other genres, just like straight up, it's a doom album. So that could be something in the next couple of years. I know that might take a little bit longer for me to like fully tackle.
Yeah.
So really, yeah, those are kind of the two things I'm thinking about that like I would like to bounce around to some point.
So I have my kind of a hard question, but so let's say someone has never listened to music before, which project or album or track should they start with and why?
Ooh, okay.
I mean, this might be a question asked to like fans because I know it's sometimes hard to see yourself outside of it. But as the artist, what would you tell someone?
That's a good one. You know, I mean, and I just mentioned it, but I really do think it would be Mossbane Lantern.
Yeah.
Only because there's a wide breadth of styles on that album front to back.
100%.
And it's sort of like it's almost like a gallery of almost all the different sounds that I have done and do. So I feel like now, I guess on the flip side of that could be overwhelming. I know it is overwhelming for some new fans where they have not heard anything of mine, and that is the first album they heard and they didn't know what to think, which that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. That's fine. You know, it doesn't have to be an instant gratification thing, which 100%. I do think that album is definitely one you've got to keep listening to it a few times.
Those are the best kinds of records,
and
honestly.
On top of being on top of like kind of being open-minded to a blend of different influences. So I would say, in the spirit of challenging, yes, that would be the first album I would recommend to people, whether they hate it or not on their very first listen. That's cool with me. That would be cool with me.
So I have a few more questions before we get to the big main question of the show.
Sure.
Outside of music, what fuels your creativity? I know you mentioned Magic the Gathering, and sci-fi and horror. So like, what influences it? Like, if you had to pick a main influence.
Honestly, if it was just one, it would have to be Magic the Gathering. Only because like it's my favorite game ever. And it's already steeped in so much lore. Not that I use their lore, but the influence of their lore, their art, and cards, and all that kind of stuff put together. It's so deep that like it has such a big influence on me. So yeah, if I had to pick one, it would definitely be Magic.
What's your favorite deck?
Ooh, for sure it's Merfolk.
Okay.
I've been a diehard Merfolk player since early 2017. I mainly play in the format called Modern. So I've stuck by it. Obviously, I love all kinds of other decks, other play styles, but Merfolk is my favorite.
So I have a question that's not that far off. What's your favorite video game?
Star Ocean: The Second Story from the original PlayStation.
Oh yeah, the cartoon ready. So
yeah, I had that, not that I knew you were going to ask that, but I know some people have asked me that before, not necessarily in interviews, but just in general, and it's a light bulb like in my head, like Star Ocean: Second Story.
So that's
my favorite game.
Does that music from those video games, does that seep into like the projects you make? Like, does that influence it at all?
Yeah. I would say, obviously, at least with Gone Mage for sure. A lot of those like RPGs from the 90s, early 2000s, but definitely in the 90s, a lot of those are big influences on me.
Okay. What's one misconception you see that people have about you or your music? You notice anything like that?
Misconceptions. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Well, okay. I mean, this doesn't happen a whole lot.
Yeah, sure.
and I don't even know if I guess it technically is a misconception. But sometimes in the past, people have thought that I was drumming on my albums, and it is all programmed.
Yeah.
Now there are some releases in my catalog where there are live drums. There is a drummer, not me. But for the most part, yeah, I am programming the drums. But there's been a few times, actually, there is a big case of it where someone, I think, still thinks that I do all the drums or play an actual drum kit for Homeskin, but that is all programmed. And they've said, wow, you like really like, I forgot what they said, but they said something where like I handled the kit really well and like mic'd it up in a certain way that no one else does or does often, I guess. I don't remember exactly verbatim what they said, but I had to correct them. I was like, I do all the programming in that. And then and someone else I think still thinks that it is me drumming on an actual kit, but
I mean, it's still kind of a compliment though. Like,
no, I definitely take it as a compliment, because like that's a driving force of how I program drums, like how and why, I guess, is trying to make them sound realistic as possible within the confines of what programming is, like manipulating the BPM and like kind of the ebb and flow of a song, to sort of mimic like the tempo drift like a band would have in like a rehearsal room. Obviously it's not 100% that, but you know, I try to get close to the feel of a live band. But yeah, that's honestly, I think the only misconception that I've faced, and it's not really even a big one, it's just sometimes people have said that.
Right.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything else though. That is a good question. I might have to think about that like later.
So, what are you jamming?
Ooh, man. So like this week or like very recently?
Like I guess I mean, this is just up to you. You can say stuff that, you know, 2025, which has just been the you should listen to the most, or something this week that's really got your ear.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I'll kind of maybe give a mix of answers.
Okay,
so like
good.
One of my favorites this year, and it came out, I think it was in like the spring, at least like maybe March or April. This album called Tate Quieto by this group called Pulsi Perla. It's like a super group, I guess, or a collaboration of two different artists, I guess like two different bands. And this is like their debut. Now, I think I don't know these artists separate, like other discography. I just know this album, and I came to find that it was like a collab album. So anyway, the album Tate Quieto, man, it's really hard to describe it without like someone listening to it. I guess like, so it's sort of considered digital cumbia, mixed with like Latin jazz fusion, a little bit of prog rock, but that's more of like a spice. It's not really like, I wouldn't call it a prog rock album, but there's definitely like prog moments on it, which is cool. But definitely is like, it's Latin jazz fusion mixed with like digital cumbia, which I guess is just like cumbia played on like synths and electronic instruments. But they do have a live drummer as well.
Oh, cool.
So it's just like, it's lively, organic, but also like electronic, super energetic. Like it's incredibly rich sonically, which is like ear candy to me, like as like a engineer, like producer, like all kinds of cool tones and like vocally, instrumentally, everything, percussion, everything.
Audio yerba. So
so that one is like one of my favorites this year. Honestly, will probably be an all-time favorite like in years to come. Let's see what else. This week I've been jamming a lot of this kind of goes hand in hand with me wanting to play Doom at some point. But this band, older band called Warning, and their album Watching from a Distance, I believe it's from 2006, 6 or 7. think it's 2006. So it's, I guess, fairly old now, but it's a classic. And I hadn't listened to it in like years. And I don't know what compelled me to like put it on this week, the last few days, really.
Yeah.
But I've listened to it, I think, 6 times in the last 3 days, 2.5 days. Yeah, not even 3 whole days. It's just like a perfect doom album to me. And it's kind of gut wrenching too. So it sort of fits with like the season. So maybe that's why I put it on too.
The world we're in. Yeah.
So like, yeah. So Warning, and also, a related band to that who came years later, 40 Watt Sun, who's like, I wouldn't call them a doom band. They're like, they have like doom elements, but it's definitely not like a metal band. Like they're more like kind of like that slowcore sound. And it's just like really moody and melodic and kind of sad. Just like really melancholic guitar tones, guitar playing, and vocal delivery. The vocal delivery is kind of even almost exact as Warning. Obviously, related project or related band. But yeah, their first album I've been listening to a lot. So yeah, it's kind of weird. It's 2 like moody bands, and then Pulsy Perla, super high energy. There's not an ounce of sadness on their album. It's just happy. Well, not all happy, but like high energy. There's even like really fast, like Latin, like super fast Latin percussion with a little bit of rapping even. It's crazy, just super fun album. So yeah, those are kind of the spectrum of things I've been jamming a lot lately.
Well, that is awesome, dude. Do you have anything you want to throw out there, like when it comes to stuff that's coming up that you want people to check out before you get this system with?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So there's two new Sallow Moth EPs that are coming out on November 21st, and both on the same day, and they're 2 like completely different EPs. One of them, Blue Permutations, is one that was mostly written and conceived during the same session as Mossbane Lantern, which we've mentioned a few times here. It wasn't entirely written at the same time, but for the most part. So you can almost kind of see it as like an extension, B-sides, although I don't know if I would call it B-sides, because I knew that these songs were not going to be on Mossbane Lantern. They just sort of kind of fall within the same vein. But I wanted it to be its own release as an EP.
Yeah.
And then the other EP, Deformity in Ceremony. This one I wrote completely in September. So it's a little more fresh on my mind. And it's pretty different, I would say, than the other EP and Mossbane Lantern in general. So it's kind of like just a slightly more brutal, different side to Sallow Moth. Although there's definitely some curveballs on it, but I'll let the fans, listeners, soak that in. So yeah, those are 2 things coming up.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to that, Gary. Yeah, I really want to thank you for being on the podcast.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Super thrilled to be on here. I totally appreciate the opportunity. I don't get to chat much about music and my processes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll have you back on anytime. So
I'll be glad to. Yeah.
All right, that's our conversation with Garry Brents. Big thanks to Gary walking me through his process across Cara Neir, Gone Mage, Sallow Moth, Homeskin, and more. For his extremely strong, very official opinions about new metal. You're hearing New Milk Amulet from Sallow Moth right now. Now I want you to tell me, what are you jamming? Send me a message, send me a voicemail, or you can just send an old-fashioned email to whatayoujammingpodcast@gmail.com. I'm Chris Owen, and this is What Are You Jamming. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you guys next time.